Here we are. Hi there, Facebook Live. It's 1 o'clock Eastern Time, noon Central, and all the other time zones have their time as well. And we're coming up on a S.N.A.P seminar, S.N.A.P, Sit Now and Ponder, with me about the impact of your first 2,500 days of life on the days you live today. And today, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of that early time for a bit first, because I've been writing the book that I'm writing for teachers. I've been working on some of the pieces about 4-year-olds. And this is the age at which we should have mined what I call the childhood treasure of negotiation. And negotiation is about getting what we want in the context of a community where there are other people who also need to get what they want. And so, sorry, just going to take a second to log off of Facebook and hopefully stop those messages from coming up so loudly while I'm talking. Okay, so 4-year-olds. Supposed to be learning how to get what they want in a win-win kind of a way, in which they recognize that there are other people around who also have things that they want that are different. And that sometimes getting what I want is about helping someone else get what they want. And unfortunately, a lot of our approach as adults to working with 4-year-olds seems to foster conflict at this age. Instead of learning cooperation, children learn competition. And I have some, opinions, professional and personal opinions about why that is so and what to do about it, which I'm going to capture quite a bit of in this book for teachers. And I'm a great believer in approaches to community, classroom community, that come out of the constructivist method of education, that theory of education, that really focuses on how children construct their own understanding, how they build meaning out of their experience. And so at this age, children are really constructing their understanding of how you get along in life's sandbox. And so if I'm a person now as an adult who avoids conflict because I find it scary and I don't know how to hold my own in a disagreement of some kind, or I am frequently bullied by people. I never really get what I want because I'm always giving in and letting other people get what they want and considering what they want as more important than what I want. Or I bully people. Probably one of those things is happening. And there's some other options as well. But how well we get along in life's sandbox now as adults, how well we get what we want in the context of being parts of various communities. You're part of a community at home with the people you live with. You're part of a community at work with people you work with, maybe. You might be part of a spiritual community where you go to church with people and do service and spiritually related activities throughout the week. Whatever your community looks like, you probably have a neighborhood community. Maybe you belong to a service sorority or a service club. Whatever community you're in, you need to be a healthy, functioning member of that community, you need to get what you want sometimes. And you need to make sure that you don't step on what other people want, that you are someone who is generous enough to allow other people to get what they want while you're getting what you want. And that win-win approach to life, it's really promoted by all of the major gurus of productivity and good interpersonal relationship. The win-win solution is always something that we need to have in our pocket, need to be able to do. Well, we were supposed to learn that when we were 4 years old. And so some of the tools that I suggest to teachers have to do with really creating a community opportunity for children to air their frustrations, voice their concerns about how things are going in the classroom. And it's also a time to celebrate and say what things are going well. But in a particular time, a particular part of a community meeting with young children, you can do we're going to take 3 minutes. We're going to set the egg timer. We're going to take 3 minutes to share out, raise your hands if you have something you need to say. What are some challenges or problems or things that have not gone well for you? since we last met? What do you want to talk about? And allow children to surface the problems that they see in the room, the challenge that they're facing. And they're going to be child-sized problems, usually. They're not going to be huge things. They're going to be things like, so-and-so knocked down my block tower, or I couldn't find a red marker, or all the green crayons are broken, or, it's like 4-year-olds' problems are 4-year-olds' problems, just like we make jokes sometimes about people like me having first world problems, when I complain about, I had to stand in line so long to get my Starbucks. Well, somebody across the ocean over there who stood in line for 4 days and never got water in their container at the end of that day, and still don't have water to take home to their family. So, not such a big problem. And 4-year-old problems can seem like that to us as adults, and yet they are 4-year-olds' world. That is the problem in their world. And the point as an adult is not to glorify the problem or to think that the problem is even important. That's not the point. The solution is important. The process, the decision making, the rectification process, what we do with the problem is what matters. And so if we ask a group of children who are together in a community what's going on that's at issue for you in some language that they can understand, what we'll see often is that there's a common concern. There's several people who share a concern. And once that concern is surfaced, then we can start looking at it more carefully through careful eyes. So why is this happening? Why is this? What's the origin of this problem? Are things getting knocked down in the block center because people think it's okay to knock things down and they're being mean? Or is the block center too crowded? Is the block area where we play smaller than the number of children who are playing there can fit into comfortably? And at whatever we decide the problem is, then comes the solution. And so 4-year-olds begin to solve their own problems as well. And I also recommend helping children solve their interpersonal problems, starting at about this age, about 4. They have the verbal skills to have conversations with each other. And so instead of being the adult who steps in and solves the problem when there's an interpersonal conflict, we are the adult who says, looks like there's a problem here. Let's leave this area where the conflict originated and let's go over here to this place where peace is made. And instead of a timeout chair, you have 2 chairs. Peace chairs. A couple of squares of carpet facing each other. Peace mats. A small table. Peace table. Whatever. Designate a space. And it's the place where peace is made. And it's called the peace something. The peace corner. I don't care. Call it whatever you want. But a place where you leave the conflict and you go make resolution. And the 2 children sit knee to knee or toe to toe, face to face, and talk through what happened. And in the beginning, when they're learning to do this, when they're new at it, they need adult support. They need the teacher there. They need the parent there to help them to find the language for voicing concern and to find the patience to listen to the other person's concern. The reminder to be empathetic, compassionate. Okay, so those are teaching techniques that I'm writing about right now. So I'm thinking, as I write, about all of us adults who are having such a hard time having these kind of civil conversation, having conflict with each other that doesn't quickly degenerate into name calling and cruelty that is just unnecessary. Instead of sticking with the conversation and seeing it through, if I feel too threatened all of a sudden about my position in the disagreement, if all of a sudden I maybe I don't quite feel as able to defend my position, I don't feel quite as strong in my position, maybe I give up and I just resort to, well, you don't know what you're talking about, or I pull out some illogical argument, I use conflation, or I use some other illogic rhetoric strategy of lack of logic to commandeer the conversation away and talk about something else, or devolve it into we're fighting and now there's no conversation because we're not speaking to each other anymore. So what if we could have that opportunity in our communities, in our families, in our workplaces, to sit together and say, so let's take 3 minutes to surface all the things that we want to, kind of moan and bitch about. What are the things you want to say, this isn't working for me, this is upsetting my day, this is giving me a hard time? You just take 3 minutes and you get them all out. Excuse me. And just keep a record of them. In a classroom community for young children, the teacher's just responding by repeating back to the children what she hears. Oh, Dominic knocked down blocks. She writes it on the chart, maybe in front of the kids so they can see it. Dominic knocked down blocks. Jerry knocked down blocks. Letitia knocked down blocks. Letitia said hers was an accident. And Letitia said she just stood up and bumped into the blocks and they fell down. So gather information, repeat it back. Don't make any interpretation or any judgment about it. What if we could do that with each other? What if whatever you say to me, I just repeated back to you? So you said, I hear blah, blah, blah. So this, you think this. You heard that. You believe this. And just show that I'm listening. And show that I'm listening in a way that doesn't judge. Keep my face neutral. Listen with open curiosity. Be a giraffe in the language of Rosenberg, the author of Nonviolent Communication. Be a giraffe instead of a jackal in the conversation. Stretch your neck up. Look from a higher perspective. Think about what could be going on. There's so many stories. There's so many possibilities. I currently have a situation in my life with a friend who's gone out of communication in a kind of a sudden way and is being atypically not available. And one person is interpreting that as a potential, like something's happened to him. He's befallen some criminal activity. Someone has taken him out, done something. And yet I know there are so many reasons. There are so many stories we could tell ourselves about such a thing. That from the phone battery dying to lack of cell signal to suddenly fell in love and has been, smitten in the throes of lust for one of those kind of weekends that just fades away and is lost to the new relationship. So, there's I can think of at least 18 stories off the top of my head to explain why I wouldn't hear from someone all of a sudden when they've been in regular touch. And I think this is a good reminder to think about that as we think about our communication with each other and getting along better, is that everybody's complaint, everybody's item that they put on the list of these things aren't working for me, it's still their story about an experience that some of us shared and experienced differently. And what if that's okay? What if it's okay for me to have experienced the same day with you and come out with a no complaint or a different concern, a different set of concerns? What if I have no concerns? It's my story of the day still, and it's still true. It was my reality, and it is my reality. It is the memory of the day I had. And you have a different memory because you had a different day. You had different pieces of reality that stuck for you as they came in than the ones that stuck for me. And so if we can go back to that 4-year-old place of just saying, let's just be neutral and equal. Everybody gets to complain about whatever they want to complain about. We all have 3 minutes to do it. And then in a community, what that helps you do is find the commonality of concern. And you can do it with the celebrations as well. Find the commonality of what you're celebrating together, what's going great in this community. But if out of 15 of us here in this little office, if 10 of us are mentioning something, or even 8 of us are mentioning something as a consistent problem that recurs for us, that sounds like something that could use a discussion about a solution. And even if it doesn't affect everyone, why wouldn't we want to fix something that affects half of the people who work here, or half of the people who live in this family, or half of the people in this relationship, this partnership, one-on-one? A couple can do this too. Just sit down with each other and say, so, how's it been going with me lately? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate me as your partner right now? How am I doing? And if you're not giving me a 9 or a 10, if I can't get a 10 out of you, how come? What's going on? What's happening that's giving me this 7 rating from my love of my life? Ask each other, what are the concerns? What are the celebrations? What's going great? And I think it's a way to open up conversation that allows for a little change in not an easy way, but a healthy way. So it's almost been 15 minutes that I've been talking about this. It's almost time to go. And I want to say right now that I am canceling next week's S.N.A.P seminar because I have the opportunity to have new headshots taken by a fantastic photographer up here in Ridgefield, Connecticut. I'm going to go get my hair done and I'm going to go get some new pictures and some new clothes because I'm down. I'm quite a bit smaller than I was in the pictures that I had taken 2 years ago. So it's time. I have a new book coming out. I'm going to get some new headshots. So look for those coming up soon, and we'll skip next Tuesday. Have a great 2 weeks, and I'll see you on the flip side of Labor Day. Snapping off.